Hello, a very good morning. Welcome along to Ireland Down on Virgin Media One. It's great to have you with us.
It is Tuesday, the 9th of April. Didn't we hear it was meant to be 20 degrees at some stage this week? Where we are, it is freezing. Like, woke up proper December.
It's actually
cold.
dangerous out in the roads. There's that much surface water, so take care if you are hitting the roads this morning. Maybe give yourself an extra few minutes.
That's our bit. That's our Derek bit, because we don't have him this
Derek.
week.
He's on holidays.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Now, as Simon says, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Dun, dun.
But will the incoming Taoiseach live up to his promises? We're going to be discussing with our panel ahead of his installation later on today.
Yeah, what do you think? Who should be shuffled around? Should anyone be shuffled around? What do you think about justice
do you even care?
And health? There you go. We'd love to hear from you. Plus, a little bit later on, journalist and presenter Louise McSharry talks caring for her mum and the pros of podcasting. And
off the back of a young Bruce Springsteen fan skipping school with a note signed by the boss himself. How cool is that? Yeah. We're going to be discussing what's the baddest reason you skipped school. So, have you ever skipped school? Have you ever signed a fake note? Did you ever get your parents to sign a fake sick note? 0896 111 111, or did you sign it for your pals? Give us something to laugh about this morning, please.
You obviously went on the Mitch, you went on the DOS with signing.
Best exemplary attendance record.
I'm sure he did. Alan is not in studio. He is delighted to be outside this morning, we believe.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Delighted to be out in the freezing lots to come across the 3 hours this morning, including some skincare hacks with Jennifer Rock and a sweet and sour snack in the kitchen. But Geraldine Herbert is with us this morning, and you brought a lovely new car. Tell us about this, Geraldine.
Yeah, this is the new Volkswagen flagship ID.7. So this is their top-of-the-range car, and we'll be talking about electric car sales and some electric car myths as well.
Like what? What are the myths? What do people think about it?
Well, the AA survey suggests that people don't realise that batteries do actually last more than a few years, and they think as well that just EVs, are not good for the environment.
All right, okay. Talking about that a little later on.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It will be a dry and bright start today with lengthy spells of sunshine for most. However, some isolated showers will affect the north coast. Highest temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. Remaining largely dry through the afternoon with sunny spells, but there may be some showers. Maximum temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. And tonight we'll see rain continuing to spread over the country through the early hours of tomorrow, becoming heavier and widespread early on. Lowest temperatures tonight 4 to 10 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers, where one story dominates the front pages, starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, TDs loyal to Harris eye promotion in cabinet reshuffle. It details how Simon Harris is due to become the youngest Taoiseach today, with Peter Burke, Hildegard Naughton and Patrick O'Donovan all tipped for elevation.
Harris will choose between Naughton and Carol McNeill for final cabinet slot. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Simon Harris will decide today between the two ministers for his final cabinet post after he becomes Taoiseach.
The Examiner also leads with this story. Their headline is Harris ponders who to raise to cabinet. Simon Harris vows to place a strong emphasis on law and order, business supports and families, it says.
The Sun goes with I'll get me coat. Varadkar signs off as Taoiseach yesterday when he handed his resignation to President Michael D. Higgins at the Áras.
How is it going to work, Simon, is the top story on the Mirror today. Incoming Taoiseach Simon Harris faces calls for an immediate election after a damning new report has shown that prices in housing are rising once again as supply reaches a record new low.
The Herald leads with Garda to face trial over burglary gang crash. A Garda accused of dangerous driving and endangerment following a crash in Dublin that claimed the lives of 3 men has denied the charges and is facing trial.
The Daily Mail's front page, Vatican warns of gender fluidity, in quotes, threat. The Vatican has declared that sex change surgery and surrogacy are a grave threat to human dignity.
And finally, The Star goes with room to improve. The paper says that the sprawling country estate where Kinahan cartel bigwig Ross Browning installed an escape chute with a high-powered motorbike waiting at the exit has been put up for auction in Garrickstown, County Dublin.
Listen, I'm going out viewing at every house at the minute. Can I go and view that one? Do you want to come?
Like I want to shoot like in the house. It'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Oh my God.
There you have it. No.
There you have it. Alan was getting his toast ready during that. If you heard anything going on, you have a nice toast there?
Carrickstown, is that where First City is?
Garrettstown.
Oh, Garrettstown.
Garrettstown.
Anyway.
Coming up, we're going to take a look at what to expect from Simon Harris's term as Taoiseach, however long it will be.
Yeah, we'll see you after the break. Discuss that after. Following this, his selection as the leader of Fine Gael 2 weeks ago, Simon Harris is due to officially become Taoiseach later on today, and we're all discussing what's going to happen.
We are all discussing that, whether he'll go live on TikTok immediately, because he's all about the TikTok apparently, joining us to discuss this new era for Fine Gael and the government. It's policy editor with the Business Post, Daniel Murray, and lecturer in politics at TU Dublin and founder of Ireland Thinks, Dr. Kevin Cunningham. Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Daniel, let's quickly run down what's about to happen today, because it's at 10:30 it all kicks off.
10:30 it all kicks off inside in the Dáil. So Leo Varadkar is going to stand up, and even though he's resigned as Taoiseach, he'll kind of make his last speech as Taoiseach, and then it'll be on to nominating the new Taoiseach, Simon Harris. There'll be a couple hours of debate, there'll be a vote, and we're expecting that Simon is going to be elected fairly handily by about 87 votes. They only need 81 to actually have him elected, but there's a number of independents who are going to support him. He'll go out to Ross and Uachtaráin. Michael D. Higgins will officially appoint him Taoiseach. The afternoon is when we're all kind of going to speculate about who's in and who's out of cabinet, and by 5 o'clock Simon Harris will come back into the Dáil, make his first speech as Taoiseach, and announce his new government. So that's broadly how the day is going to run. OK, so it's going to be a long day for Simon Harris. He's obviously spoken a lot about, we said earlier, he ain't saying nothing yet. He's expected to take this government in a new direction. What do you see happening when he comes to deciding his cabinet?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes they have a calculation trying to work out whether balancing up region and balancing up geography. Hildegard Naughton is obviously one of the names, and Jennifer Carroll McNeill is obviously another name that people are mentioning in relation to coming into the cabinet. Helen McEntee is obviously a name that they're thinking about. Kind of obviously she's not quite as popular as other cabinet members, and that's certainly someone who might be potentially replaced, I guess. They'll be balancing up region and
does region matter? Because you go out there and you do all of these polls, and there's been so much chat about, well, you'll have to have someone from the northwest, you'll have to have someone from the south. Does it matter in cabinet to the people of Ireland? Okay,
so I think on one hand, like, there is a general perception of the cabinet, if it's seen to be too Dublin based, it's seen to be too male, just in general. But when it comes to the voters themselves, we did a poll asking people what did they think is the most important for new cabinet members. We asked whether it was ability, experience, gender or region. And gender got about 0.5% and region, I think, got 1%. So almost everyone's more concerned with their experience and ability. So they're obviously far more important. Now, obviously, there are things that, Simon Harris and other politicians, they'll know about the ability of these potential cabinet members, so they will probably choose on that basis. But we might know from the outside who is actually the more capable, because we don't really see them on a day-to-day basis.
So Minister Peter Burke, it's expected he's going to go up to a more senior minister role, potentially into Simon Coveney's role, or where do they think he might go? Yeah, so I guess where we have to start is what roles are available. Yeah. So we know Leo Varadkar is out of cabinet, Simon Harris moving into the Taoiseach's position. We know that Simon Coveney is stepping down. That's the only other definite. So enterprise is free. So that's two positions that are free. The question is whether or not Harris will go further and drop another person from cabinet to free up a third position. As you say there, in terms of the positions that are free, enterprise, Peter Burke, who's currently the junior minister for European Affairs, he's being tipped to move into that position. The higher education position, there's all different permutations of what might happen. What's being speculated at the moment is that Hildegard Naughton, who's currently the chief whip, she might be rotated into that higher education position. Who was a teacher, exactly, and that leaves her position open then, and that's where you get into, will Jennifer Carroll McNeill possibly be moved into that position? Could it be Neil Richmond, who's been very loyal to Simon Harris as well and is seen as very competent? But at the moment the speculation is Jennifer Carroll McNeill into the chief whip position, Neil Richmond into that kind of super junior position of an EU affairs minister, and Hildegard Naughton into the higher education, into that higher education with position. Peter Burke then going into the enterprise role. Peter Burke into the
enterprise role, which is seen as the kind of most senior ministry that's available.
Yeah, I was going to say, and we did a poll actually on this. Most people don't know who these people are. So we asked people who do you think should go in.
Yeah.
A majority said that they didn't know or weren't interested. But of those that actually did give an opinion, Hildegard Nocton was actually just ahead of the others. So it was interesting. She is somewhat popular, obviously.
So can I ask, when you go out there and you're doing all of these surveys with Ireland Thinks, do you see a lot of disengagement in relation, because you're just after saying there they didn't know who they were. This is a huge issue for our country, surely.
Just in general, yeah. Well, you know, it's funny you say that. So I did do some face-to-face polling relatively recently, and that's sometimes where you can pick up the level of disengagement when people are just refusing to answer the opinion polls. But what was actually slightly surprising is if you look at the recent referendums, the turnout in some of these areas where people seem to be disengaged was actually enormous. Yeah. So there is, I don't know, there's some sort of engagement that's going on that may not be...
but a lot of it was thought that that was a protest vote.
Yeah, I mean, this is particularly in working class areas where you would have had less engagement when we're going out to people, but then they turned out in big numbers. So there seems to be something different going on.
One huge area of disengagement is injustice. And what is going on at the minute, we're seeing far-right movements, we're seeing the riots, obviously, we're seeing people fed up with what's going on in their local areas all over the country. So Minister Helen McEntee is rightfully coming under a lot of pressure with this. So if Simon Harris is to be taken seriously and try to give a new direction for this party, for people to get behind him, does he have to make a big decision now and step her aside? Or is he, as Fionn Sheehan says, is he going to bottle it and take the no difficult decisions role? And is that really going to keep him in the job?
It is the big dilemma facing Harris. Like, he has clearly, in the few speeches that he has made since being appointed Fine Gael leader, made law and order central to what he's going to do going forward. And the question over Helen McEntee, as you say there is this thing about needing to shake things up, needing a new face in there to show that you mean business. At the same time, he faces a dilemma, because it was only just before Christmas that there was a vote of no confidence in Justice McEntee. And of course, she survived that vote, and the government all stood up and argued in favour of her. So just a couple of months later to be rotating her out, it's almost like an admission of defeat on their part, and that makes it a difficult cause for him. But in general, you're going in, you're a new Taoiseach, you want a few new faces in cabinet, you want to shake things up a bit, and this is a key area. You have to show
you can make the tough decisions.
You do have to show.
A leader has to make tough decisions, and if he believes that's the way forward... Or maybe not.
Yeah, well, they say...
Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah, maybe not.
There has to be some blood on the floor, as they say. So we'll see by the end of today whether or not he does manage to do that.
What do you think?
I think odds are on that Justice McEntee is going to stay in that portfolio. But certainly, either way, she won't be dropped from cabinet. If she goes anywhere, maybe she'll be rotated into another role. Possibly she could go into Enterprise and Peter Burke could go into that Justice role.
Kevin?
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was claimed in the newspapers the other day that you know, if they got rid of Helen McEntee, it might play into... or
the far right.
Feed into the radical right.
But where is this coming from? It's not... Like, this is what I'm wondering about. I keep reading these articles of it's giving into the far right. How is it giving into the far right? Like, how? When you're just going, lads, we need a reshuffle. This hasn't worked. Drew Harris has been on the front of the papers for how long now? There is an issue going on in Justice and the Gardaí. What's wrong with having a new approach?
I mean, I get the argument. The argument is that if they see success, then it encourages people more, and then they grow in confidence. And you can kind of see that where, in some respects, the issues around immigration and refugees, the government has kind of moved in that direction, let's say, which has kind of encouraged people to say, OK, this is absolutely working as a strategy. One of the targets, let's say, for the radical right, would say, is probably Helen McEntee. So you could see how, in some way, but I mean, I don't know.
And there's also a feeling, I think, within Fine Gael, some older members of Fine Gael that think that Minister McEntee, inside in that role, that she is focused on some issues that certain members of the party would call woke issues. Whether that be the hate speech bill, etc. So that might be another reason why there's a feeling that if you move her, you're giving into that contingent who are giving out about these things.
Fine Gael have obviously been in power for 15 years. According to your polls, Simon Harris, it looks like he's going to drag it out until potentially next March. What does he need to do? Like, what are his biggest challenges?
I mean,
to try and stay as Taoiseach going into the in the next cycle.
So the one thing I think about Irish politics is that I think the Irish electorate is quite responsive to policy change. So what we noticed sort of last 2022 is there's a big cost of living crisis. the government responded fairly effectively. Popularity for Fine Gael actually improved. Popularity for Sinn Féin declined. Pascal Donoghue has, as a result, become incredibly popular in Ireland. I think the biggest challenge is obviously housing. Housing has been the #1 issue in Ireland for a long period of time. And you saw he had his speech talking about the 250,000. That's clearly the biggest challenge. I genuinely think if Fine Gael did resolve the housing crisis, I know that's a pretty bit of a challenge that's been going on for a long time.
He said 250,000 houses, but sure, at the minute they're only building 30,000.
Yeah,
so I mean, it looks like he's picked that number out just to stop Sinn Féin using it.
The one thing I think about making promises is I think while it does indicate the sort of priorities that they might have, it's kind of like, I don't know how much you can continue to make promises over the same issue when as you say, they've been in government for 15 years, so it is a bit of a challenge.
A bit worrying there when Kevin says that people, when he's going out polling face-to-face, are disengaged and don't know who some of these people are. So we would love to hear from you this morning about the state of politics in Ireland and whether you care at all. 0896 111 111. Of course you care about things like housing, health, but when it comes to the actual formation of the government and who's there, we would really love to hear from you. Daniel Murray, policy editor with the Business Post, and Kevin Cunningham, lecturer in politics at TU Dublin and founder of Ireland Thinks. Thank you both so much for joining us there. Yeah. Can't wait for 10:30. They'll be there with their pen and paper. Thanks, lads.
Lads, thanks very much for that. Yeah, get in touch with us again. Yeah, if you know who they are, or if you think that they're doing this, making the decisions that matter to you most.
Now, after the break, we're dissecting the morning's headlines, including the Taoiseach vowing to pursue social media companies after being hit by a fake cryptocurrency attack.
Yes, all that after the break. Sorry, yes, that's you.
Taoiseach Micheál Martin has vowed to pursue social media companies as far as he can after being hit by a cryptocurrency scam online.
Yes, join us with that story and everything else in the papers this morning is Lorcan Nine from the Communications Clinic. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Lorcan, I mean, this is really quite frightening that the Taoiseach Micheál Martin is saying that he'll pursue social media companies just as far as he can. I mean, he's the Taoiseach of this country and he's finding it hard, having to go to court to try and find out.
What's happened?
Okay.
Yeah, so the central story, we all would maybe seen these ads on a news site and you see the pop-up ad, or you see them on social media where it's fake news stories effectively being linked to cryptocurrency, and it's stories where Micheál Martin is mentioned as if he's been involved in some scandal, very, very obviously fake, etc.
It's happened to me. I think they've used Alan Hughes' face as well. They've used a number of different people as well in these scams.
Yeah, you see it happening across the board. So Micheál Martin is trying to find out, well, who is running these ads? Where is it coming from? But he makes the same point you're making, Tommy, which is that it's very, very worrying that the Taoiseach has to go to the High Court and he still doesn't know the answer to the questions that he's asking. And he's taking it on for, in his view, not for himself, but the fact that it's very, very difficult that if he can't get the information, how could a private citizen get the information? So that's what he's looking at. And he said as well, which is another interesting point, is that people keep saying, but sure, look, they're obviously fake, Micheál, who cares? But these ads normally are obviously fake on purpose. They want them to be fake and look fake because they don't want people who are kind of overly reasonable or who are kind of critical thinkers clicking in. That's not the people they want. They want the more reflexive, I'll give that a click people. So it's like, the real old school email scams of the Nigerian prince looking for money. They were purposefully really obvious, purposely misspelled because they didn't want too many false positives. So it is an important issue. And it is, I actually do think, generally shocking that when the Taoiseach is doing it, even that there's no alarm bells going off in these companies saying, well, we better fix this one. Even at that, they're like, whatever.
Because, with my own personal situation with these, they were fairly obvious, but I know people who click the links and who actually have been receiving loads of phone calls about it as well. And,
really, yeah?
And the thing is Micheál Martin...
Bitcoin scam, is it?
Bitcoin scam, yeah. And then it brings up a full interview and telling you how to do it and where to go and how you make money off it. I mean, it's incredible the levels that they go to. He's getting it forensically analysed to find the source. But it's the social media companies, the likes of Meta, who are taking the money for these sponsored ads and putting them out. And I know from our point of view, we had to send a letter to Meta to get them taken down, which they were able to do like that.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they've come back. So
It's the gatekeepers, which is always situational. They're the ones you can get at, they're the ones you can control. And that's what's totally shifted in the last 15, 20 years is the social media companies who've come in and they act very differently than the previous gatekeepers, which would have been the media. You know, so if people had tried to run a fake ad with a newspaper, the newspaper wouldn't have been able to do that because of the public impact on their reputation, and they just wouldn't have done it. So we have to go after the gatekeepers in these situations, and you have to be strong. They're massively strong companies. The only response to a strong company is a strong government and strong regulation. So fair play, I think, to the government for taking this on, and you need it at a European level because, look, you have to take it on at a European level as well.
And globally, it does feel like Europe are the ones who are driving this, because obviously we have got bad actors involved with the Russian government. We've got a lot of, you know, we saw things like Cambridge Analytica happening. But the fact is that these companies are nation states now. They're doing whatever they want and they don't care what governments think. We're in a very dangerous era about what they do. They disregard everything.
They don't care about what governments think unless it's legislation that they disagree with, in which case they very much do care. I mean, you see Elon Musk very much does care about the hate crime legislation at the moment coming through Ireland. So he cares about, you know, Leo Varadkar, and he cares about the Irish cabinet. So they have to be able to take that and they have to be able to keep pushing forward because it's not going to happen from the US regulation side. They don't have that culture. So if we want to protect European citizens from it, it has to happen at a European level.
Another frightening story in the papers as well this morning, and you wonder about a lot of people question women getting into politics and whether they would want to do it as well, and this would certainly make you question it. So female MEPs have been warned of deep fake, explicit images being put online on the lead up to the upcoming elections.
Yeah, this is Maria Walsh really highlighting this, that she has been told that they just have to be ready for this to happen, that deepfake images, pornographic images effectively, with their faces superimposed upon it. And look, we know it's an issue that is even happening in schools, where they're young girls who are getting that sent around WhatsApp, etc. And it's like, it's horrible. It's obviously going to keep women away from politics, and we have to, again, I know I'm probably banging the same legislation drum, but you absolutely have to. You have to look at it in terms of not just the creation of them, but the sharing of them and the hosting of them has to become a crime.
But also that it's being purposely done, targeting women, because you want to keep it a space. It's been done on purpose.
It's done in their view to shame and humiliate, and it should not be the case.
And the fact is that it is being done to girls in school very easily. OK, we're going to move on to a different story. Mortgages. So we had yesterday that news, great news day for Simon Harris coming in when we found out that houses across the country are 6.5% more expensive than they were this time last year. Now banks are being accused of discriminating after cutting rates. We were all very excited, but it's only on green mortgages, so houses with a very high energy rating. Yeah, so about a third of mortgages in Ireland are these green mortgages now, so it's not an insubstantial amount, but they're green mortgages that if you've got a BR rating of over a B2 or something similar, you're going to get a lower rate. And what people are saying is just cutting those. It's discriminatory in those who aren't buying those houses, or in particular those who I suppose can't afford new builds, because all new builds in Ireland now are A2, so all new builds would have to be able to get this. And you're looking at rates of, effectively, if you're getting a 300,000, your mortgage first-time buyer, on a green rate, you'd be paying €1,200 a month, and on a non-green now, you'd be paying about €1,500 a month. So, like, that's not an insubstantial gap. So, the idea of green loans, I think, is a good one. Facilitate refurbs, facilitate, when you're bringing houses up to scale, etc. So, it's a good one. But you do need to be able to bring the green agenda in a way that's not only for those who can afford it, that it's not only for the wealthy. It's an incentive. Listen, we're living in a time where we need to be worried about the climate. Yeah. And you got to look at your house and the energy rating of it, and if you can improve it and get it to like a level B3, because we're talking about new builds are A-rated, a B3 can be achieved by putting measures in place. I suppose that with the mortgage rate so high at the moment, people who are buying older houses can't afford to get the builders in to bring their rating up. It's kind of all tied in. I think the way you need to look at it is in twofold. Number one, if we had a bit more supply, this would work a little bit better, because people who are selling would have to bring it up because they'd want to incentivise the buyer. But then number two as well, there's a lot of money gone into refurb grants. Huge amount, and like that refurb element of it, which is great because you can remortgage, or you can actually reapply within your mortgage to get a green rate. But the issue is you need to have the cash up front to then get the refurb grant. So I believe they are looking at that they are looking at bringing in a separate loan scheme for those who don't have the money up front, get a loan from and bring it through, which would make sense. So you just need to be clever about it. But let us know at home if you have a B-rated B or less than a B3 rated house, and how that would affect your mortgage. We'd love to hear from you. 0896 111 111. Now, I always used Mitch school. It was just, I had a great time. Did you? Yes, I did. And I knew how to sign my father's, sign his signature, BOC. It was fantastic. But now, Bruce Bruce Springsteen is involved in illegality, in mitching, in absenteeism. What has he done?
He's corrupting the youth of America is what he's doing. Person came to a concert holding a sign up saying effectively, I'm skipping school, will you sign my note? He then signed the note and said, yeah, person missed school because they were watching me up on stage.
I love this. The note said, to Mrs. Norman, sorry I missed school yesterday. I went to see the heart-stopping, pants-dropping, earth-shocking, hard-rocking, booty-shaking, earthquaking, love-making, history-making, legendary Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Signed Genevieve and then Bruce Springsteen. I mean, if that doesn't get you off school, well, nothing will. There you have it.
A bit much for an 11-year-old, but that's fine.
Have you ever got off school? Have you ever given us a reason that you've missed off school, and maybe a funny reason if you have it? 0896 111 111. Give us a laugh this morning.
Well, I apologise for the voice now. It's Munster Rugby's fault, okay? Just to be clear, every time I go to match, I think I'll be calm here now, and then 2 minutes in, I'm shouting and the voice goes.
It's the sexy Phoebe voice. We're going to make him sing a song during the break. Lorcan and I from the Communications Clinic. Thank you so
very
much.
Coming up after the break, we've got the latest motor news and car reviews.
Just in a minute. Sexy woman. Can you see our breath freezing? From phone habits while driving to misinformation around electric vehicles. There's plenty happening in the world of motoring and this bright and warm April morning.
Yes, lovely. And to update it is motoring editor with the Sunday Independent, Geraldine Herbert. Good morning to you, Geraldine.
Good morning. It's on this positively balmy morning.
Lovely morning. Tell us about the car behind us.
Okay, this is the Volkswagen ID.7. Now, they started the electric their electric brand with the ID.3, then there was the 4, then there was the 5, now this is the 7. There's an ID.2, a smaller, more affordable car coming next year, but this is their flagship electric car at the moment.
And how much is it?
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a fabulous size. There's huge amounts of space inside, and it's really premium features. It really takes that kind of ID features up a step, definitely. Okay, price-wise, it's 56,490. But you're getting now the WLTP range is 600. Realistically, you're getting close to 500, which means that's most people's driving for at least a week, if not more. So
we're looking inside it here now.
What do you make of it? In comparison to what's it compared to on the market, and what do you think of it?
Okay, in comparison, it's really pitched against anything from like the Kia EV6, the BMW i4, Tesla Model 3, even the Mercedes EQE, and it's actually bigger than the Mercedes EQE, which is kind of their electric E-Class. So you're talking lots of interior space, lots of boot space, drives beautifully, very premium. In the touchscreen is on the fiddly side, which, you know, and you have to...
In what way is it fiddly?
The air conditioning has to be controlled through that, the air vents and all of those things. There's no actual buttons, you know, bring back buttons, please. They are coming back. They're making a comeback apparently next year.
Well,
yes,
it's something that we have to talk about with our roads, that people are being so distracted by the screens that they want buttons back.
Yeah. And also remember, all of these cars are designed for the opposite side of the road. So the steering wheel is on this side and you're actually changing the screen with your right hand. We're doing it with our left, which makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing, isn't it? You're driving and the screen and everything is touch now on the screen.
Yeah.
But is it voice activated?
It is voice activated.
It's voice activated.
Yeah, and actually the voice activation is good on it, and also there's a heads-up display, so it's not so bad in this car, but just generally it's most of those you just want to get them and throw them out the window.
It looks stunning.
Yeah.
Like the wheels are amazing. Did you enjoy driving?
Yeah, no, it's really nice, and it drives beautifully and smoothly, and it very much feels like a flagship car.
Okay, now that we're on, this is an EV car, so let's talk about electric vehicles. And there is a new survey from AA that's saying that we're all believing misinformation about electric vehicles, and sales have fallen.
Yeah, so sales are down about 14%, and that's at a time when the market is actually up 8%. But I think there's a lot of reasons for that, apart from the misinformation, which is a big thing identified by the AA, but also we've moved away from the early adopters into the more mainstream market. Those buyers need convincing about battery life. They need to know better information about the charging infrastructure. They've lots of questions. Also, new car prices are falling. There's been heavily discounted. When they fall, new used values fall as well. So there's a lot of depreciation at the moment. The market is very volatile in the second-hand market. So all of these things are making people that bit more, you know, hesitant,
What
I suppose.
what is the misinformation that's out there about electric cars?
Well, I was really surprised how bad it was from the AA. First of all, half of the people believe that they're not more environmentally friendly than a petrol and diesel car.
Half said they're not more inventive. They didn't realise.
Yeah,
No,
and I mean,
but why? Because
Why?
obviously we're living in a world where misinformation is a very important thing.
Yeah.
There are big players in the market, in the EV market, but also in the oil market.
Yeah.
Right? So this is coming from a place.
and a lot of misinformation is stemming from the UK at the moment. Literally every day there's some bad news EV story running. But I mean, the thing about the environmentally friendly thing is, yes, the battery has a big carbon intensive footprint. Yes, manufacturing the car does. Now, there's no mistaking petrol and diesel cars have a large intensive carbon footprint as well when they're produced. But the thing about it is, these are more intensive when they're produced, but once they get on the road, they're not emitting, whereas a petrol and diesel car will emit for their entire life.
Exactly.
So over a lifetime, they're far more environmentally friendly. But people just don't realise that the other thing is, there's a lot of misinformation about battery life at the moment, that you're going to buy a car and it's not going to last. You can get the battery checked. Don't ever think if you're buying a second-hand EV that you should buy from a dealer unless they can give you a full battery health check. And that's a report that can be produced that tells you exactly what's left.
Does the whole battery have to be changed, or components can be changed?
They're basically, they're made up of components that have been placed out. And if you talk to anybody, they will tell you that replacing an entire battery is incredibly rare, so it should not put you off. But the key thing is, if you're buying second-hand, you can have it checked. You're not buying blind, and people do not realise that.
And do you think the drop as well is that the grants have stopped, or the grants have been lowered as well, that there wasn't incentive there because you were getting a grant?
I do, and I don't think it's even the value of what's gone. I think it's the message that's been sent by the government is wrong. It's that we've moved on now, it's the wrong messaging around it more than anything else. But everything counts, from the tolls, to the discounted motor tax. It all makes a difference. Also, fuel prices have been quite low. Petrol and diesel prices for the last while. Electricity prices are quite high, and those things
all, of course,
make a difference.
We'd love to hear from you at home if you are indeed an EV driver. What do you make of it? 0896 111 111.
You have an electric car, Maureen. My thing about getting an electric car is the charging of it. And that would be my concern, that if I'm driving around the country, where do I go? You call into a garage and then there's 4 cars in front of you. Do you have to wait? And because you have to, it's not like you can just fill it up, you have to wait.
I'd say we could talk for about an hour and a half about charge points around the country, and someday maybe we will.
No, but there's that a thing as well that people are concerned about. We don't have enough.
Again, if you talk to EV drivers, they say it's improving, and it's improving rapidly, but people who haven't bought into an EV are looking and going, where are these charging points? Are they reliable? And they're hearing again those bad news stories rather than the good ones. Lots of people across the country, and they're fine, but you hear about the bad ones.
Just move on to another story very quickly. Unsurprising, on a day like today where it's absolutely Baltic, 81% of commuters prefer to drive than take public transport.
There's
in this
a surprise.
country. I mean, it's the grass is green.
Yeah.
Like,
again, though, that survey from CarZone said if the options were better and public transport improved, they would consider it. But based on what they're being given at the moment and being offered, they prefer the comfort of their car, which is not surprising.
Well, yeah, and when you saw weather like you did yesterday, you could get out and try and get a bus or a train, or just get into your car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
And also on this, 30% of drivers admit to checking their phone while driving. Listen, let he without sin. Do you know what I mean?
The most astounding thing about that is a third of them admit to sending text messages. Like, that requires a lot of concentration behind the wheel. Like, you're taking your eyes off the wheel while driving. I thought that was the most,
But I'd say people do a lot more than that when they're driving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'd say it's way higher than 30%. Anyway, we'll see. 0896
Let us
111 111.
Do you text when you're driving? You shouldn't be.
Shaking the hand. Anyway.
Geraldine Herbert, thank you so much for joining us.
And without a big coat, you are right.
I know, I survived it. I braved it.
Super.
Big coat, lads. It's a big coat morning. Still to come, we'll be talking to Louise McSharry about celebrity culture and her podcast.
And from teaching teens to tackling TikTok, social media star Shabaz. She's all in a tears this morning that Shabaz Ali is going to be stopping by a little later on.
Shabaz says, Pavo.
We'll see in a few minutes.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. It's lovely to have you with us. Still to come, we have got a podcast powerhouse, a TikTok talent and a culinary king.
Yes, coming up very shortly, she's brought her podcast to the top of the charts. And now Louise McSharry is taking her chat to the stage. We're going to be chatting to her at 8:15.
TikToker turned author Shabaz Ali, you might know him as Shabaz Says, where he does this. He just chats about rich people from the comfort of his own bed. We'll be chatting to him a little bit later on. I love him. He's brilliant. I swear to God.
He's very funny.
He's so
very
funny.
Yeah, we look forward to catching up with Shabaz. He's going to be seeing us, 20 past 9. Look forward to that. And speaking of TikTok, skincare extraordinaire Jennifer Rock is with us to help us decipher some of the viral skincare hacks. What have we got, Jen?
I have everything from dark. I'm literally making, Jack, I could take over your role at this stage, to be honest. Turmeric, coffee, honey, you name it, dark circles. How will you know if it's dark circles that are hereditary or is it pigmentation? We've lots coming up.
We'll find out.
I very much care about that. Okay, we're going to do that. Alan, do you want to bring Jen into the kitchen?
Dark circles. Jen, you can come over now and add some honey. Is it honey you have there?
Honey and turmeric.
Jack O'Keefe's in the kitchen. What are we cooking up,
We're
Jack?
doing some crispy lamb ribs. You're so excited.
I'm looking at these. Oh, look.
Since I burnt you last week with spicy food, I said I'd treat you with your favourite piece of meat, lamb. But this is my favourite. Look at that.
Look at this.
I'm spoiling it today.
Look at
They're
this.
cooking. Put them back in the
I'll
oven.
put them back there in a sec. Look at them.
So they're slow cooked, and I'm going to toss them in a tamarind barbecue sauce. They're going to be epic.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
How long will they take now? When can we start eating them?
A few minutes.
Alan's going to grab it before the barbecue sauce has made its way on.
Oh, they smell class.
Tommy, they smell classy. It looks class.
Absolutely delicious, Jack. Yes, after burning the mouth off us last time, you owe us. So thank you very much. Looking forward to that.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It will be a dry and bright start today with lengthy spells of sunshine for most. However, some isolated showers will affect the north coast. Highest temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. Remaining largely dry through the afternoon with sunny spells, but there may be some showers. Maximum temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. And tonight we'll see rain continuing to spread over the country through the early hours of tomorrow, becoming heavier and widespread early on. Lowest temperatures tonight 4 to 10 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers where one story dominates the front pages. We'll go with the Irish Times first. It says TD's loyal to Harris I promotion in cabinet reshuffle. It details how Simon Harris is due to become the youngest Taoiseach today, with Peter Burke, Hildegard Naughton and Patrick O'Donovan all tipped for elevation to the cabinet.
Harris will choose between Naughton and Carol McNeill for the final cabinet slot. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Simon Harris will decide today between the two ministers for the final cabinet post after he becomes Taoiseach.
The Examiner also leads with this story. Their headline is Harris ponders who to raise to cabinet. Simon Harris vows to place a strong emphasis on law and order, business supports and families.
The Sun goes with, I'll get me coat. Varadkar signed off as Taoiseach yesterday when he handed his resignation to President Michael D. Higgins at the Áras.
How's it going to work, Simon? That's the top story on the Mirror today. Incoming Taoiseach Simon Harris faces calls for an immediate election after a damning new report has shown that house prices are rising once again as supply reaches new low in the sector.
The Herald goes with Garda to face trial over burglary gang crash. Garda, accused of dangerous driving and endangerment following a crash in Dublin that claimed the lives of 3 men, has denied the charges and is facing trial.
The Daily Mail goes with Vatican warns of gender fluidity threat, in quotes. The Vatican has declared that sex change surgery and surrogacy are a grave threat to, quote, human dignity.
And finally, The Star goes with room to improve. The paper says that the sprawling country estate where Kinahan cartel bigwig Ross Browning installed an escape chute with a high-powered motorbike waiting at the exit has been put up for auction in Garrigstown, County Dublin. There you go. Do you get the motorbike as well?
I wondered.
That's the escape chute.
Sorry.
Right. But Virgin Media Television is thrilled to announce our partnership with Darkness into Light and Electric Ireland.
Darkness into Light raises vital funds every single year so that the charity Pieta can continue to deliver its nationwide suicide intervention and bereavement therapy. This annual campaign, it takes place on Saturday the 11th of May, and we are excited to be able to support it in a significant way.
Absolutely. The funds raised from this year's Darkness into Light will go directly to Pieta's services, so sign up at darknessintolight.ie to take part and raise funds for Pieta's life-saving work. Really do amazing things, so please give as much as you can or help out whatever way you can. Now, we have a lot of texts coming through as well about some of the things we were speaking about earlier on. We're talking about Mitch in school, we're talking about electric vehicles. Seems to have,
a lot of people getting in touch
interested.
with us. And the number of electric vehicles is dropping. People aren't buying as many. Yeah. And John says, I've recently become a 2 EV car family in rural Ireland. We do a combined 50,000 K every year, and it costs us approximately €600 charging from home.
Don't
so
understand
that a year?
How that adds.
Rarely use public charging points, but they are improving. EV not for everyone, and you must be organised. But I wouldn't return to diesel. And I think that is the thing. If you have an electric car, you have to be a bit more organised when you're travelling, when you're planning your travels.
Yeah.
And this is off the back of Geraldine Herbert, the Sunday Independent motoring journalist, was here, and she was talking about this survey that says there's a huge amount of misinformation around about EV cars. So more messages on this one. James there. Sorry, do you want to read that one? Sorry.
Go on. What's that?
Hi. Driving an EV for 6 months now. The range is only 300 kilometres, but that's the distance I travel in a week. I don't drive long distances, so it works for me. €30 a month to charge it versus 120 when driving a diesel. Car tax went from 270 to 120, and insurance also dropped by €75. Smoother drive too. It all depends on your requirements to get the best from an electric car.
Well, listen, I like Chris's. Chris, I have recently changed from electric back to petrol hybrid. Range anxiety always got the better of me on long trips. The lack of charge stations and those that were en route were either broken or always busy, which I see an awful lot. Unless there's a big investment in car charge networks, electric cars are not going to be mainstream for another 5 to 10 years. And that's my question. Like, the government have stopped the subsidy towards it.
Yeah, they've stopped.
We're not seeing more electric charges being put in petrol stations. And you can see the drop-off. You can see the drop-off in people using it. Because,
that would be my concern.
I had an electric car for a little while. I love driving it. But unless you're extremely organised and if you cover a large distance, it's very difficult.
Yeah, the savings are huge.
The savings are huge when we're doing that. We were also talking about Bruce Springsteen signed a note to a person who was at their concert to get them off school for the day. And we were asking you, have you ever mitched off school? And Nolene says, morning, guys. My daughter and her friend mitched school and went into town unknowns to me. However, in town, there was a camera crew making an advertisement and they asked my daughter to sing a piece on it. Well, I had to look at her on TV for weeks. And after that, when I found out she'd mitched school, that's how I found out she'd mitched school. Imagine that. That wouldn't happen now. Should be release forms and everything.
You'd be signing everything through the roof. Not a hope in hell.
I've never mitched at school and was generally very good, but one day there was a test that I hadn't studied for, so I decided I would skip. I wrote my name on the school book stating I had a dentist appointment and headed up to town on foot, only to see my dad's car going the opposite direction. Somehow he didn't spot me, but I can tell you it was the longest 35 minutes of my life trying to hide from my dad. Never again. Send us in your text messages. They're very good. 0896 111 111 if you've ever mitched school or ever been caught.
Still to come, broadcaster Louise McSharry will be stopping by.
Yeah, we'll see you back here after the break. You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest is a journalist, a popular podcaster, and she's been no stranger to speaking out for causes close to her heart.
We are joined by the wonderful Louise McSharry this morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
You would have been one of the ones that kind of went into the podcast world in a big way. You knew what you were doing, you knew what you wanted you knew what you wanted to do. You wanted to have this sort of a weekly show. A lot of podcasts can be kind of all over the place. You had a plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was coming off the back of 19 years in radio, so I suppose I was coming at it with a radio head, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Like, you know, I had a lot of skills, fortunately, so it meant I could edit, produce, and do all that stuff myself because of my career in radio. But like, podcasting is a different beast. So I've kind of, you know, things have changed over the couple of years that I've been doing it. But I do 3 episodes a week now, actually, 4 for Patreon every second week. So I'm flat out.
That's a pretty big undertaking because you see a lot of podcasters put out maybe 1, 2 a week, but the 3 a week with the editing, the booking guests, like it's very much on you to build it, decide what exactly you're going to be talking about. Like, people probably take it for granted that these things just happen.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't just happen. But I think for me, like, I really want this to be my career long term. You know, it's not something that I'm doing kind of as a side hustle. It's my main thing. I do other things because I have to, because I have kids to feed, and like, I'm not bringing in quite as much money as I need to be at the moment. But like, you know, I'm investing in it because it's my future as far as I'm concerned.
And when it comes to that, because obviously, you know, people can be sitting there, you have to put the hard yards in because podcasts come and go.
Yeah.
Yours hasn't. Catch Up with Louise McSharry has been around. It's a mainstay. It's like one of those shows that you listen to that you're like, okay, what's the news and what's been going on? But you don't have to pigeonhole yourself anymore. You can do, like, you do everything.
Yeah, it's great. And like, it's the great thing about podcasting is it's completely flexible. Like, if I decided next week that actually only 2 of the episodes were working and I was going to drop one of the episodes, I can do that. And I can do that next week. And then a few weeks later, if I decided actually people really miss it, I could bring it back. And that's the beauty of it, that like, you know, you can be completely you. I don't need to appeal to everyone in Ireland. I'm never going to appeal to everyone in Ireland. That's okay. But as long as I connect with my people, you know, we can have a great time together. And that's true for everyone. Like, sometimes people ask me if there are too many podcasts, but I'm like, no, everybody has their little corner. And just because new ones are popping up doesn't mean that there's no room for mine. Like, I think there's almost infinite space.
Well, there's a lot of corners out there. There is a lot of podcasts. But I think if you hit a nice blend of something that really connects with people, I think that's what you've done, because you speak about the news, but you speak about tough topics as well, and you're very open with that. And even in the last year, like, you've spoken about your own, is it ADHD as well, diagnosis, and also your adopted mother-in-law's Alzheimer's.
Yeah, my adopted mom's Alzheimer's. Yeah.
And like, you've been very open about that, discussing, because I'm sure that can be difficult, putting that out into the ether.
It can, but it's also a great opportunity. Like, I'm naturally an open person. It's not something that I really have to consider. I consider other people's privacy. Like, I've spoken to my mom about speaking about it, you know, and she's completely encouraging about it. But, you know, I also find, like, for example, I was traveling with my mom over the weekend and I hadn't traveled with her in a long time. And, you know, her cognitive ability is really compromised now. It's not so much memory. I mean, memory is a problem, but it's her actual ability to kind of understand instructions and stuff like that. So you can imagine going through security in the airport is a bit tricky, you know, when you've got people shouting at you to do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And I realised...
That's the part that people don't talk about a lot,
exactly.
actually.
And that's what I was thinking, was before I experienced this, I wouldn't have thought of that. I would have thought of memory. And that's what we all think of when we think of Alzheimer's. But it's actually so helpful when people around you kind of realize that there's something going on here, and maybe to just have a little bit of extra patience. So I was like, I'm going to talk about this in the podcast because that's my audience. I can get this many thousands of people to know this, to know this little extra bit of, you know, what life with Alzheimer's is like. And, you know, so I think I'm so lucky to have that place to go.
But that must have been, I'm just thinking, because you're living an experience that thousands of other people are, with a young family at home, and then with a family member who's suffering from a degenerative disease.
Yeah, and she's only 59. Like, she's really young. And that's another thing, I think, you know, it can be really tricky when you're talking about it with people, because people want to obviously kind of empathise with you and commiserate with you and, you know, be supportive of you. But sometimes people, you know, say things like, oh, you know, my great granny had Alzheimer's disease, or and it's kind of like, that's awful. Like, Alzheimer's is awful at any age. But when you're dealing with early onset Alzheimer's, there is an extra layer of heartbreak to it. You know, you're not supposed to be 55, giving up your career, or, you know, not being able to text your daughter anymore. Like, these are, you know, really difficult things to deal with. But as you say, there are so many people dealing with it. And I have a bit of a platform, so I'm always going to do my best to try and help people understand it more.
Because you're trying, I just think, sorry, Tammy, that you're like, no, Mum was coming. We were going away for the weekend, and Mum was coming.
Yeah. Well,
and
my sister's getting married. So my sister needs her mom to be involved in things. Do you know what I mean?
But then the thoughts of your mom being in an airport where it's very stressful if you're on top form as it is. You know, where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that must have been like with, as you said, things being shouted at you, people being impatient.
Yeah.
So now you've got this whole new understanding.
Completely.
That it's like we have to kind of make a space for this because people's lives shouldn't end.
And also to be a little bit more patient with other people.
Yeah.
Like I have certainly like given out about people in the airport. How do people not know at this point that you have to do X, Y, Z? And I've done it. Like, but you just genuinely don't know what people's experience is or what they might be going through. And I'll definitely be a little bit more patient going forward. 100%. Patience is not my #1 virtue, I would say. I struggle in that department.
Me neither, but I find since COVID, I think everybody is in that situation that patience has definitely gone out the window and people are so much less patient than they were before. And it is a case of just being mindful of that too, particularly in the airports. You also are a journalist and you're writing for the Irish Independent as well, some great articles. One that stuck out for me recently, because I have a daughter who's 7, similar age to your oldest as well, is talk about sex education and been speaking to your kids about sex education earlier. And you're even talking about like at the age of 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that?
So I don't know about you, but I remember my first thoughts about sex or like questions about sex or wonderings about sex was around that age. And
I need to ask about this as well, because you said you found out because you found a magazine underneath a mattress.
Yeah.
Does that not get you in trouble whenever you're putting that into finding somebody's mattress?
The person whose mattress it was is no longer with us. So I didn't identify whose mattress it was.
Can't libel the dead.
But it happens. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things happen. Kids come across pieces of information or whatever. And you get an idea, you might get an idea even from watching a TV program or seeing a TV program that someone else is watching, and you get curious. And if you, like, I didn't have access to the internet, so my research was very limited. Like, I was looking for books in people's houses and like reading sex scenes in my granny's romance novels, and like that's all relatively harmless. But unfortunately, we know, and the research indicates that children access the internet now unsupervised. Even if they're not doing it in your house, you don't know where they might. And personally, I'm just not going to hand my children's education over to the internet in this area, especially since I have 2 sons. Like, I want to raise sons who contribute positively to their relationships with women, if it's women that they're into, if it's men, whoever. I want them to come at it from a positive, accurate perspective from the get-go. That doesn't mean I'm going to be showing them sex, but it means that, like, for example, when my son the other day asked me how my sister-in-law's baby's going to come out, I explained, and like he was completely unfazed because it's not a big deal. You know, I was like, well, you know how you have a hole in your bum and you have another hole and women have 3 holes, and it's, you know, very simple. Like, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you open the door and make sure that kids know that they can ask you these questions and it's not going to be a big deal, then you will be the thing they turn to and not the internet.
And we talked earlier on about social medias and the power that they have, but also the porn industry. And you said essentially handing it over to porn companies to educate children in age-appropriate manner is not helping them.
Yeah, like, look, it would be lovely to think that kids could just not know about sex until they were 16, right? Yeah. But that's not the reality. And porn is so easy to access, and all the research indicates that kids are being educated about sex by porn. And I don't want that to be the situation for my boys, because we've seen the impact that has.
Amen. Amen. You are going to be taking to the stage. You had sellout shows last year. You are doing the catch-up with Louise McSharry live Thursday, May the 9th, Laughter Lounge in Dublin.
Yes, and there's going to be lots of fun. It won't all be like talking to your kids about sex.
That might be a fun part too as well.
We talk about the world of celebs and entertainment a lot on the podcast. So 2 of my contributors, Esther Moore Donoghue and Emer McLeod, are going to be there with me. We're going to be chatting about something in that realm. And then I'm also going to have a guest who people I know will love to hear, but I just can't say who it is.
Yeah,
yet.
your shows, you always
really
put so much effort into your shows when you go live on stage. It's absolutely amazing. People can get tickets on sale now through the Laughter Lounge website. Catch up with Louise McSharry live. Louise, as always, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks
Great to see you.
very much, Louise. Now, coming up after the break, we are finding out why wearing makeup in the gym is a no-no.
Louise could stay for this. She knows everything about makeup as well. Stay tuned for some DIY skincare with Flair, the amazing skin nerd, is next. Welcome back. Now, whether you're looking for cheap tricks to treat dark circles or you want to find out why you shouldn't wear makeup to the gym, there's lots to discuss from the world of skincare.
Do I look odd because I have makeup on one side of my face? Here, as always, with our expert advice, it's the skin.
I can't notice it.
Can you not? Jennifer
really.
Rock
You're
is
just
here.
getting ready for the gym on one side.
I'm telling you.
That's
And
what it
about
is.
this, so we see this on TikTok, and now people are going to the gym or they're going for a run, and they're putting on makeup.
I know. I do think makeup often is a security blanket for people.
Yeah.
And so going into the gym, you're not always your most attractive. I definitely haven't. I don't believe in ironing clothes to go there. I don't believe in looking my absolute best. I believe to go to work out. However, for some, they do it for confidence purposes. So the reality is, if you think about it, like I always say, pores they're not doors, they don't open and close. However, they're needed. So they do actually secrete oil, sweat, etc. out onto the surface of the skin. So they're needed. We obviously need to sweat during exercise to regulate our temperature. But insofar as that, when you're sweating excessively, and that's kind of the purpose of an awful lot of exercise, it can cause a lot of breakouts, irritation, sensitivity.
Why,
so
is that because
ideal.
your pores are just clogging with the makeup and the sweat's coming out?
This is someone putting on gym
about-
makeup that we're watching out right now.
Is there a thing called gym makeup?
Yeah.
There genuinely is. So there's a lot of brands that will promote the longevity, the sweat-proof element of it. Now look, when you're out and about and say, I don't know, going to beautiful France in the summer and you're going to perspire while you're out and about, obviously you're going to wear makeup, not obviously, but you might be wearing makeup during the day. I think the problem here is people are saying you have to put makeup on to go to the gym. You don't have to put makeup on ever, first and foremost. But if you are going to put makeup on going to the gym, if I really was at a push to say what would I do, I'd put on a mineral-based makeup that isn't as occlusive on the skin.
Yeah, but also can we just say that if you don't and you're like, oh, people are doing this, it does clog your pores.
It does clog your pores. Dermatologists globally are saying it's not ideal, so I wouldn't start doing it. However, look, for example, sometimes you're running home from work and you run into the gym and you've makeup on. You can't
I
get
do
out.
that all the time.
That happens too. So look, life continues, but I would not be putting makeup on purposely to go to the gym. And if you are, ask yourself why and where's that confidence or lack thereof coming from?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's a good point, isn't it?
Thank you for that. I know that it is very tough because some people really do need their makeup on. Now we're going to move on to the pinch test. What is the pinch test?
So
and I get to pinch Alan. That's it? Okay.
This is wearing between Shabaz and pinching me all day. The Shabaz is coming up later on.
Okay, so what's
She's
the
in her
pinch
element.
test?
Okay, so look, a lot of people, myself included, genetically have dark circles under the eyes, but people confuse dark circles, pigmentation, and then some people have what would be kind of excess skin. This particular TikToker I love. She's a lot of credibility. Yeah,
now, what's
she's
she doing?
great.
What is that?
So when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, what you'd essentially do is pinch your skin, like you can see there. So you're not actually trying to pinch with the view to hurting yourself. You're just almost gathering the skin together is probably a better word.
Yeah.
So when you're in the mirror, you're looking at yourself, you've gotten a makeup on, just bold. If you push the skin together and the skin itself lifts up, if there's darkness there, it would suggest that the skin is pigmented. However, if you pinch the skin together, so it's lifted up and away from the tissues underneath, and there's like your skin just looks like it does elsewhere, then it would suggest the darkness you're usually seeing are the broken capillaries or the capillary underneath. So what you're trying to distinguish is when the skin is lifted, is the skin pigmented? Or when the skin is lifted, does it look like your own skin?
Should you do it really?
Yeah, why I shouldn't do it because I won't understand what it means.
So you're literally going to...
Hold on, we need to get a camera on it. We're on camera one there, yeah, okay.
So you're literally trying to
you can really see the makeup
go
off now.
right and underneath. So when you lift, so what you see with Alan is essentially that it is, I love you, it is a little bit of capillaries underneath. So essentially what happens is, how do you know?
Just
So what does that mean? Does that mean he's got naturally dark circles?
We all genuinely do. So if you see his skin there, it looks the same as the skin underneath.
Yeah.
There's no difference with his skin here where I've pinched and when I take it away. So what we're looking, it means that there's no pigment on your skin. So pigment is essentially when the skin itself
None at
is
all.
darker. You do have pigment here, as most of us do, but the under eye area, it's not pigment specific. It's just dark circles, as in the capillaries.
But does that mean I need to be extra careful with it then in sunshine and stuff, and sunlight and stuff?
You should definitely always anyway, but what you see here is just, it's a blueness. That's probably the best way to describe it. So there's like a blueness. And look, that happens particularly with our colour skin.
But I don't understand what you do to treat. Is it a treatment or is it something to do with colour corrector? What's the story?
So if you see that you've got pigmentation, which looks like freckles, to be honest, you're going with SPF, retinols, vitamin C's. If you've got dark circles, this is not the great news, so don't give out to the messenger, but there's not an awful lot you can do.
Okay.
You can get treatments done. I personally get a treatment done called PRP. It's when they take the blood out of your arm. It's called a vampire facial.
The vampire facial. I got it done years ago.
It really helps, but like, that's excessive for some people. I totally take it, but it's my body regenerating itself. Why do you see that blue hue? It's because your skin becomes thinner in such a delicate area. So it's not that you're darker there; it's the fact the skin is thinner there, so the darkness is coming through. Is that
the thinnest part of your skin, just underneath your bangs?
Underneath your eyes and your neck area are the two areas.
Can you do that same test regardless of, we'll say, your melanin, like how dark you are, like from all the way from the palest to the darkest skin colour?
So what you're essentially trying to do in that situation is just lift the skin and see if the skin got that pigment, or is it the darkness.
So I'm banjaxed, am I?
You're not. You're beautiful.
You're like everybody else. Fine. Now, we're going to go on DIY brightening masks. I love masks, but you got to feel guilty for
you better do it under this eye, seeing that there's no makeup there, and I need all the help I can get.
So what's the first mask that we're using today?
Okay,
DIY?
so we have two here. So I've got my turmeric and honey. So I prepared this earlier. I do love saying that. It still gives me...
So this honey and turmeric.
Exactly. So it's a little bit of honey, a little bit of turmeric. I did get confused and put a bit of olive oil in as well.
Lovely.
So I'm not taking over Jack's job anytime soon. But essentially that's what it is. So it is lovely and not messy. And then I have cut up my little cotton pads. Just put
they're only just cotton pads?
Yeah,
okay.
just literally use the scissors.
Now what does turmeric and honey do for you then?
Turmeric, as we know, I suppose, it's an amazing spice when you use it, eat it, but from an external perspective. I think I need a towel.
We got some paper towels.
I'm going to pop it underneath. Okay. Thank you for the assistance. You would squeeze these out a little bit more yourself at home. So to answer your question, oh no, Alan, your poor face. So it is definitely something you would not do on television, and you probably squeeze it out a little bit more.
That's an attractive moment on television, isn't it?
Tears of a clown. Is anti-inflammatory, really great for brightening the skin and really cooling the skin. Yeah, and honey is really hydrating. So perhaps not the easiest. If it's something you have at home, you could mix it together. I'm not going to say it has the clinical data behind it, but for like an instantaneous lift, it will.
Are you serious?
Yeah, generally. Well, like it'll help lift momentarily.
Oh, for like 2 minutes.
It's not going to do it for 2, 3, 5 days.
Oh, okay.
You know?
No, but if you're going out that night or something like that.
But nothing does, right? No face mask.
Well, skin, yeah, true. You have to do something consistently.
But if you were going out that night and you just wanted to lift.
Yes. You look beautiful. The other one that I want to talk to you about. So the other one is...
Mind your eye.
Yeah.
Do be careful of your eye. Yes, so I do love doing these TikTok trends.
Lovely.
He's turning into a ginger cat the more we go on.
So the other one then is coffee. This is coffee, granulated coffee, olive oil. I got a little bit of sunflower oil from Jack earlier just to make it even more hydration.
So we have to try this one now.
Now this one is, I have had this one drying. So this one should be slightly easier. It's been aerating.
Oh, this is for dark circles, which is what he has.
Circles. Oops, a daisy.
Mirren, careful.
What?
So this is for the dark circles I have. This will help my dark circles, will it?
Yeah, so the caffeine essentially is something that's a diuretic. It helps constrict vessels. So to answer the question for what we just did with that pinch test, this would and should help with the balloon.
That really feels cool. It's really cooling there.
And it's warm in here.
Mike, because I have dark circles.
Yes.
Is this?
It won't change them long term, but if you're going out tonight and you looked in the mirror and you felt tired and you honestly felt fatigued, so it's literally coffee, olive oil, mixed together.
Just like an instant coffee.
Instant coffee.
And olive oil.
Straight in, olive oil, swish, swish, swish. And then I literally cut up the cotton pads.
Does it feel nice?
It feels
it's really cooling.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's really
so
cooling. Have they been in the fridge or anything?
No, they've literally just been here like this.
Considering the single-use plastics we use for these eye things all the time and the amount of money people spend, you know, they could be spending 10 quid on these yolks.
Well, that's instant coffee, a bit of olive oil. That feels really cooling, I have to say.
It genuinely is.
Oh,
yeah.
And you look cool too.
No, it does. It definitely helps. It has cools. It's instead of the cryo concept that we often talk about. This is definitely.
This is one from. This is the first one from TikTok that Jennifer has actually said go with.
Yeah, go with it.
If you have any questions for Jennifer is staying around for the next hour. Remember to send them in any skincare questions. It's 0896 111 111. This is approved. That was approved.
This is approved.
I love that.
Okay. I have to go and get some makeup on.
Yeah,
we'll see you after
maybe.
break. We're going to have some food in the kitchen.
Or lick off your face.
Thanks for staying with us, and these are delicious. We're in for a fusion of flavour this morning.
Yes, joining us now to make his crispy roast lamb ribs with sweet and sour tamarind
Tamarind.
Tamarind
I know,
sauce.
it's a mouthful, isn't it?
It's Jack O'Keefe. Good morning to you,
Good
Jack.
morning, boys. What's the story?
Alan is getting stuck in already. He's just, look gorgeous.
Look, it's
How do you
springtime,
do
isn't it?
Because hopefully with the weather improving.
You don't
we
need
can
good
make-
weather for this recipe.
Oh, really?
It's all oven job. Now, look, they're phenomenal on the barbecue, but
Yeah.
oven for this one because, look, where's summer gone in this country?
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful lamb ribs. It's springtime. Everyone's talking about lamb, but lamb has gone scandalously dear just because of the demand and everything. But I always support my local butcher shops, and I go in and I always kind of
Love the local butcher.
I live in my local butchers.
Yeah, it's good.
I spent about 2 hours inside there on Saturday just having the chat with Dennis and
What's your butcher's called?
the one I use in Mallow is McCarthy's.
McCarthy's.
They're fantastic, yeah. And they're actually tuned in this morning watching because I was telling
There you
them
go.
this lamb is for Ireland AM, right?
Well, it's delicious, lads. Yeah.
Beautiful lamb ribs, or you can ask for a lap of lamb and get your butcher to cut them up into rib chops, just like that. I have some thyme, some brown sugar, some salt, some black pepper, some cinnamon, and some cloves, right?
So sorry. If you're to go in and ask the butcher, what are you asking specifically?
Do you know what, to be honest? Because I used to live in Kildare for so long. In Kildare, they're called breakfast chops, if they're cut up like this.
Okay.
In Cork, it's a lap of lamb.
Okay.
A lap of lamb.
A lap of lamb, yeah.
Now,
Or just, look, they'll get it. When you ask for a strip of lamb ribs, they'll know what you mean.
So you've covered them in that. and
Cover
then
them
what?
this so they steam, right? And that will soften them up, and that's what's making them fall off the bone there.
Do you put any water in to
Nothing,
make it steam?
lamb ribs have a ton of fat in it. Good fat, delicious fat, tasty fat.
Okay.
so
Just like
basically
myself.
you're just putting a tinfoil on and putting it in the
Yeah,
oven.
at 160 degrees Celsius. Okay?
For how long?
For about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Okay, that's the
Actually,
start.
to be perfectly honest, an hour and a half every time.
No olive
Absolutely
oil,
perfect.
nothing on it?
Nothing. That's it, because they have enough of their own juices in them, right?
Okay.
My barbecue sauce is a bit different. At home, no, you can just use like barbecue sauce. You could use whatever you want, right? I'm going to add up with a little bit of a fusion-y kind of flavour. I'm going to use this magical ingredient, which actually I Googled in last year for Christmas. What is the trending ingredient of 2024? Tamarind.
Oh, that's
You
the
even
tamarind.
see a certain giant vodka brand on billboards recently releasing a tamarind flavour.
Where
this year.
do you get the
What
tamarind?
even is it?
I got this in a certain Irish supermarket that's SV.
Okay. Yeah. But
Or you can get
what
it in
is
an Asian market.
What is it?
It's basically, it looks like turmeric. It's like almost like a peanut, like a monkey nut. That's what it looks like, but it's a very sour kind of seed, and it comes in a block paste like this.
Okay.
And about a 200 gram block paste. All you do is you take that paste, pop it into a bowl, boiling water. So if you're using a block of about 150 grams, put about 250 grams of water or mils of boiling water just over it like so, like that, and use a fork just to break it up. Like keep mashing it up like so, and just let it sit for about a half an hour, right? After a half an hour, it'll completely dissolve. And then I have my saucepan with my sautéed off garlic and ginger in here.
Okay.
I take a sieve and I have some cinnamon chili flakes in there as well. And then I take that, once it's all broken up, this whole bowl will turn into almost like
a stock, big
creamy
massive stock
paste,
cube.
like that,
Okay.
right? Sieve that through, that will catch all the seeds and the fibre. And then your tamarind flavour goes in. Now you can buy tamarind sauce in most good kind of ethnic Asian-y ingredient shops. Okay. You know, it's always
What
in
would
there.
the equivalent be if you couldn't go out and buy tamarind
There isn't.
today? But
There actually isn't.
okay.
It's a very, very unique flavour. It's super sour as well.
And you put it over this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I did was I
very
put it
nice.
into my sauce, right, with garlic, ginger, the whole lot. There's my wife ringing me, telling me I'm on live TV. Yes, I am.
Yes,
The
darling.
cinnamon, right, pop the tamarind, you sieve it all in it goes. Bit of soy sauce, bit of brown sugar, that's it. Bring it to a simmer and then blend it, and you're left with a stunning barbecue sauce like that. Look at that.
Look at that.
And then all I do is taste it. If it's too sour for you, add more sugar. Just keep balancing it out.
It's kind of that sweet and sour,
Yeah,
isn't it?
but it's
Because you
pure-
think barbecue sauce is very sweet.
Pure umami. Do you find that it's making you salivate?
Umami,
It's
yeah.
really delicious. And do you know what? Push the boat out. Try something different this weekend. Go out your shop, get it. Get some labyrinth for your local butcher and use it, right? Now, after an hour and a half, crank up the oven to about 230 or as hot as it'll go, and bang them straight back in the same tray the whole lot. And look at the way all the juices have charred up and everything's got all gnarly.
So
15
an hour
or
and a
something
half with the...
At 160, and then about...
Take the tinfoil off.
Take the tinfoil off, and then about 15, 20 minutes at 200, and as high as your oven will go. Okay. Keep an eye on them. Don't go for a walk with the dog while these are in the oven, because they will burn.
Okay.
It all depends on someone's oven.
Like
at
that
home,
there.
right? Look at how crispy those are, right? Glass bowl, or whatever kind of bowl. It doesn't have to be glass. I sometimes say things out loud to remind myself to grab a glass bowl.
Okay, perfect.
Ribs go in, right?
And now you haven't coated them, because what I would have done normally is like after an hour and a half, I would have coated them
and
in
then
the
put them
sauce.
back
See,
in.
because there's
And put
sugar
them back
inside.
in.
I'm happy with the flavour of this sauce now. If I put it into the oven and mix it with the lamb, it's going to change flavour, but it also might burn even more because there's tons of sugar in it. So then I just take my lamb, or my my barbecue sauce.
Could you do like a double whammy with them? Like let it burn a bit at the high heat and then cover them again? Or you
I don't really like
better
it.
To just
I
keep
like them sticky, like the way you're eating it.
Okay.
Toss them all up, bang them onto a plate, right? And then I love little crispy garnishes. So what I've done is I've just grabbed some plain peanuts, right? Normal peanuts like that. Yeah, just normal peanuts. Smashed them up in a pestle and mortar. Pop them into a dry pan with some jerk seasoning to give it a lovely Jamaican flavour. And I'm left with these beautiful crispy peanuts.
Okay.
And they're absolutely delicious. Don't do it with salted peanuts because it's too salty. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So then
it's kind of like peanuts you feed the
little
birds.
peanuts.
Almost.
Peanut.
That's what they look like.
Yeah. Right. And then some coriander and some raw red onion. Break it up like that. And then some
lime
limes.
wedges.
And there's more lamb ribs for you boys.
It's very good, Jack. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
It's
it's not too
delicious.
sweet. I
No.
feel like the savoury taste to it almost.
Like I had to beat my dad away from the tray as I was cooking years. And I was like, no, that's for the boys. That's the ones I prepared earlier. Don't eat too many. He just devoured
They are
them.
delicious.
Thank you,
They're
Mr.
class.
O'Keefe, for
Yeah.
leaving them with us.
They are absolutely delicious. That's my fourth one.
But you're talking, that's an all-day thing at the weekend. An hour and a half and a good half hour probably to give it a...
Perfect Saturday meal, or
And
even
then
Sunday meal.
Can I just ask you then, if you were to do it, and then if we got some miraculously lovely weather over the weekend, and you had wanted to take your barbecue out, how long on the barbecue?
Super easy, right? Light your barbecue, put all your charcoal, or your, let's say charcoal barbecue is usually round, put all your charcoal to one side, right? Put your ribs into a double or triple tinfoil parcel, put them in with your flavour, wrap it up as a present.
Yeah.
Put the ribs off the side of the heat. So charcoal's here, ribs are here, lid down.
Indirect heat.
Indirect heat. And do it for about, again, maybe an hour or so. And just like open it and poke it with a stick or a fork to see if it's starting to get soft. That's it.
Absolutely delicious. Thank you so much.
No problem, boys.
Now, still to come on today's show, we meet the chemistry teacher who's exposing the empty lives of the super rich on TikTok. Shabaz Ali is here and he's brilliant. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM.
Yes, great to have you. Still a busy hour ahead. He is the chemistry teacher turned TikTok sensation who's garnered nearly...
We use that a lot on this show, don't we? TikTok sensation. But he
Oh,
really
yeah,
is.
no, this is genuine. This guy is an actual sensation. He's got well over 2 million followers for his comedy skits calling out the uber wealthy internet personality. Shabaz Ali is here at 9:20. Very funny guy, and you're a big fan as well.
He always looks so cozy. Doesn't he look so cozy
Looks
there?
like a cat there.
Okay, we'll talk to Shabaz in just a little while. Alan, he's got his makeup back on, smelling of turmeric. Getting more skincare tips this morning?
After my little test to say that my face is just wrecked.
Stop.
She's back to answer all your skincare questions, so you can keep sending them in to us. 0896 111 111. Jennifer, what are we going to be chatting about a little later on?
We're going to talk about moisturisers. It's a really tricky time of year. People aren't sure what to do. Glycerine is getting a lot of attention in TikTok press, and we'll talk about retinol, how to know which level to start off with, and why would you want to?
Why would you want
Why
to,
would you
indeed?
want to?
That's all coming up, and remember, get those questions into us if you'd like to talk to Jennifer. Tommy.
Great for getting those texts and those answers in. So send them in to Jennifer. Now also our sustainable superstar, Pat Kane, is here with us on a masterclass in microplastics. Good morning to you, Pat. There's a big topic of microplastics in it. What are we going to be discussing?
Well, we'll talk about what microplastics are, how to spot them, how to avoid them, and how to try and just find the best possible ways to live our lives avoiding the little microplastics.
How to avoid them?
I was just about to say, do you have to get on a rocket to the moon? Even then, you'll be surrounded by them.
Everywhere. Okay, thank you very much, Pat. Looking forward to that. Be really interesting.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It will be a dry and bright start today with lengthy spells of sunshine for most. However, some isolated showers will affect the north coast. Highest temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. Remaining largely dry through the afternoon with sunny spells, but there may be some showers. Maximum temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. And tonight we'll see rain continuing to spread over the country through the early hours of tomorrow, becoming heavier and widespread early on. Lowest temperatures tonight 4 to 10 degrees.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome back. Now, earlier on we were discussing mitching from school because over in America, I think we presume it was America, a kid went to see Bruce Springsteen, had a letter to his teacher to say why they're going to be missing school the next day, and actually got Bruce Springsteen to sign it. So he put it out there and asked you, have you any good stories from missing school? And we've got some brilliant ones.
Oh, some great ones here. I mitched off school back in the 80s to meet a fella my parents weren't too mad about. Anyway, we got the dart to Howth and had my shorts and my bikini in the bag. Next day, we were the front page of the newspaper. A photographer captioned the picture, "Young love in the sunshine."
Oh, no.
The two of them out in the Howth on the beach. Young love in the sunshine. Needless to say, I was in double trouble. Mitching off school and meeting the fella that the parents didn't
love
like.
it.
And if it's that photo, you still see it in the front of the Indo and the sun
like
and the
someone
star.
at the beach or the kids playing on the beach.
Brilliant. Babs, one day my daughter decided to go on the mitch. She got in the bus into town from outside the school. I happened to go to town that day as well, and instead of the stress of driving into the city, I decided to take the bus. I got on the bus, went upstairs, and there was my daughter with her friend sitting on the top deck. We got off for the next step, and she didn't go out for 3 weeks as punishment and never miss school again.
3 weeks?
Or at least that's what you
for 3
think.
weeks.
That's what you think, Babs.
You wouldn't get away with grounding someone for 3 weeks these days, would you?
Of course you would. Why not?
Why not?
Oh, he's already planning on
Absolutely, yeah.
3 weeks. You think you'd be? I think they'd just go out, but they wouldn't pay attention
Not
to
in
their
our
parents.
house, they wouldn't.
Right? Were you ever grounded?
No, not really.
No, not really. Okay. Johnny, the first and only time I met school, I hid my school bag in a bush. When I came back from my bag, the bush had been set on fire. Why was the bush set on fire, Johnny? Why did that happen?
I was thinking if the bush got like cut or something, but actually set on fire. Found half a copy of the book left. Adele, I was 15. I had Irish in the afternoon, so I went on the hop. Anyway, after school, I went to sell raffle tickets with my friend up the town, and me being so stupid and not thinking, I saw my Irish teacher and tried to sell her a raffle ticket. Anyway, the next day, during Irish, I got called to the principal's office, who freaked out at me and was suspended for 3 days.
Suspended for 3 days.
Wow.
Look, if you're on the mitch and you see your teacher, you don't go over to them and try and sell them a raffle ticket. You run the opposite direction.
If you're on the mitch, what are you even going out selling raffle tickets for anyway?
Because you're civically minded.
Civically minded.
Doing the right
a few bob
thing.
out of it.
Oh, thank you so very much for all of those
that.
messages. We really do appreciate them. And coming up, if you want to send in a message about skincare for Jennifer Rock, it's 0896 111 111. But we will be meeting the TikTok star calling out social media fakery.
Yes, content creator Shabaz Ali. He's here, and we're going to be talking to him after the break.
Hello, welcome back. Oh, that's me. That's my name. Sorry about that. He is the TikTok sensation who pokes fun at the rich and encourages his followers to be proud of their Pavo roots.
You've been saying Pavo all morning, yes.
Pavo.
Some may call him the Robin Hood of TikTok. It's content creator and teacher Shabaz Ali. Good morning to you, Shabaz. Great to have you with us. Before we get chatting, let's take a look at him in action.
On today's episode of I'm Rich Your Poor, it's our rich person gender reveal. Yes, we're revealing the gender of whoever's going to inherit our hard-earned generational wealth by showing you how much hard-earned generational wealth we have. These planes don't even reveal the gender. They're just there to show that we're rich and we don't care about the planet. On today's episode of I'm Rich, You're Poor, we're going to open your ice freezer with made-up ice. We're going to take it out of the freezer to put it back in the freezer and restock it. look at my baby. But most importantly, look at my baby's giant closet with all manner of designer items in there that is probably going to grow out of in a couple of weeks.
Closet.
Shabaz Ali, good morning. What were you pointing out in that video?
If you watch the video, there's line marks on the carpet, so she's dragged this big bassinet like across the carpet just to have it in show.
It's all about the content, Shabaz, you know yourself. Like your videos are very, very funny, and like that's what Instagram is and TikTok is nowadays. It's just showing people showing off their wealth and what wonderful. But you calling it out, like it's got massive success for you.
Yeah.
How did you start, or why did you even decide to go into it?
Do you know what? I've always been like a bit of a prankster. I love taking the mick out of people. It's just the humour. It's the northern humour. We love poking fun. And honestly, it came from the school kids. So I'm a teacher, and that's where I started seeing, especially post-COVID, I started seeing that the pupils were, the comparisons were so big. The way they see themselves is the biggest thing. It's not just what they're watching, it's how they're perceiving it. So, you know, there's constant body image or everything. Now, that's why the book's written with so many chapters, because it's what you eat, what you wear, how you live, how you're brought up, how you travel, even things like how you clean. So,
well, let's talk about this, because you've got a brand new book. It is called I'm Rich, You're Poor, because it's your catchphrase.
Yeah.
Like, you just said one day, I'm rich, you're poor. Oh, look at you, aren't you great? And my God, is it stuck.
Absolutely.
Like, it's really stuck.
Yeah. But then but I don't know if a lot of people get the jokes. I was in a shop the other day and I was doing a book signing, and this woman walked past and she went, I'm rich, you're poor. Oh. And I was like, no, it's a joke.
Well,
like, I'm not saying I'm rich or
I think
poor.
because the under part is actually very important in that as well. So how to give social media a reality check,
thing,
because that's the big thing. Because exactly, if I was reading that and I didn't know your videos, you'd be kind of thinking, oh, it's a bit showy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm rich.
Pavo, go, keep walking. That's what you tell them.
Well, you do have, this has all come from actually quite a serious place.
Yes.
Because, as you said there, pre-COVID, you were living in one world. And after COVID, you noticed that children you were teaching, they're thinking about things and wealth and materialistic things. There was a real difference.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's how they see themselves, and that's what's really important. It's they're seeing constant bombardment of like, you need to live like this, you need to look like this, you need to eat like this, and they're not being able to decipher what's real and what's, because on social media everyone thinks, oh, it's real. It's just a bunch of people just living their best life, when we know it's camera and makeup and a bunch of scripts and so much more behind it. We, as adults, we're being able to see the difference. Younger people aren't seeing the difference.
Because on social media, you talk about this in the book as well, about do better, look better, be better.
Yeah.
So how in the book are you trying to educate children that, like, you're taking the mickey out of them in the videos, but what's the message you're trying to get to them in the book?
It's that similar message. It's that you can see these things for entertainment. We grew up looking at magazines or watching movies. That's how you should see social media. It's entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be light-hearted. It's not supposed to be something that you see and go, I want that.
But you are seeing people's lovely houses and you are seeing their lovely fast cars, whatever else. So people are still going to want to dream that they have that. But at the same time, you're trying to take the mickey out of them.
I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to have more, or like if you want to work hard and get to a certain level, then do that. No one wants to stay poor forever. You know, we all want to work hard and become something, but it's saying that you don't have to compare yourselves to that, and you don't have to go to a standard which sometimes isn't achievable. So, you know, there's people out there with generational wealth, and there's kids with, you know, that growing up with nothing going, I want to be able to have a, you know, private jet. It might not be obtainable for you, and that's fine. That's okay as well. Body images, you might not ever get that body, you know, the way they portrayed it, because sometimes it isn't real. That's what the book is saying. It's saying, and not even for just kids. I think a lot of people go, he's a teacher, he's doing it just for kids. Adults, we're all guilty of it. We've all done it. There are so many aspects that we look at and we go, why is she going on so many holidays? I want as well.
And we need to look at the fact that the divide between the rich and the poor, it's getting wider. The rich are getting richer, and more people are falling into the poverty bracket.
Absolutely.
Globally.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again with the book, I think a lot of people go, oh, you know, he's just bashing the rich, and you know, some people, but not everyone shows off about it. Rich and poor is going to exist, and it's the divide's getting bigger. But you don't have to tell everyone. You don't have to walk down the street and go, look what I've got, and look what you don't have.
Yeah, but some people deserve to be bashed, do you think? Like, what are some of the worst things that you've seen?
Like, the food ones really irritated me. Like, how are you spending... I wouldn't even spend £1.50 on a cheese toastie, and these people are spending £400 odd on a cheese toastie. Like, it doesn't... Does it taste better? Like, putting gold flakes on something does not make it better. It comes out the way it went in. You know what I mean?
I love the one that you have, they put the petals or the roses into balloons and freeze it just to put around the bottles of champagne.
It's going to melt. It's not going to add any flavour to your drink. Yeah, so it's some of the strange things that people do. Or some of the ways, like the Hermes thing really stresses me out because people act like, you know, Hermes...
This is the bags, the handbags.
Yeah, they've selected me to get this. No, they didn't. Yeah. They didn't. They just didn't let you buy it. And now they've gone, now you can buy it. And you've gone, I got selected.
So these are the people who apply to buy an Hermes bag.
How weird is that? Like, you apply to buy a product that you're giving money for. It's not like they give it you for free.
There have to be a lot of people. You're putting a light up to all these things. So when you are walking around now, because Shabaz, what is it? Like 1.2 million people are following you now, watching these?
1.9 on TikTok and 1.6 million.
Not that he looks or anything. Not that I'm looking or anything.
People tell me.
That's what people tell me. But like people are shouting at you in the streets.
They shout povo in the streets, you know. It's always great, isn't it, when you get shot? But that's the thing about the word povo. It's something that was derogatory or people used it to abuse people. Well, now if somebody shouts povo, you're like, you watch him as well. You know, it's become a symbol. People are wearing it on top. So.
What about the onesie as well then? Yeah. With like obviously you look very cozy. You're lying in bed. Do you kind of feel because I actually saw on your bag you bring it over with you?
I do wear them. In summer I don't because you know it's boiling. But I mean, well, not British summer, but you know, sometimes it's all right. But that's what I'm like all the time. That's my normal state. So I thought, well, why not film in the state I'm always like?
And in hotels as well, because you're just saying you stayed in a hotel last night. They must love you that you don't even actually get into bed.
I don't sleep in the bed. I just use my blanket. It's good enough.
It's like you thought about it. That's going, if this takes off, I can film anywhere in the entire world.
That's the best thing about it is whenever sometimes I have to do something like where they've like advertised the book, can you do this? I'm like, okay, cool. Just have to jump in bed.
Have to put into a bed.
Everyone else has to like go to script and do like cameras and lights and ask people to do it. I don't. I just have to jump in bed, pick up the phone and speak.
And listen, all the people who are watching it are in bed, lying there and scrolling as well.
It appeals to like this is out of the norm for me. I had to get out of bed today.
You look lovely.
From a serious point of view as well, like working as a teacher is incredible, and I'd say the kids love having their teacher going on TikTok and have such amazing views and stuff as well. But like even you're very passionate about the school meals.
Absolutely.
And we spoke there about the disparity of the wealthy and the poor at the minute, and you actually have seen it firsthand. A lot of kids who haven't been able to, you know, they're not getting breakfast in the morning and trying to expect them to concentrate and get through the full school day is extremely difficult.
And I don't understand any government that doesn't understand that as well. Like, I'm on the front line, I'm telling you, teachers are telling you that kids can't afford to eat basic thing like food because their parents are struggling. And then getting free school meals, the threshold is so low that no one's ever going to meet that. And the government know that nobody's going to meet that, so they don't have to give free school meals. So I have seen pupils come into school, not eat all day, or come on a Friday, eat a lunch, and then they don't eat anything till Monday because their parents can't afford to feed them.
Are you serious?
I've seen it. And prior to COVID, and I say prior to like all this austerity, it was quite small, so you get like 1 or 2 pupils that you might go, oh, go on, I'll get it, or you know, we'll put money on their card for them, or we'll give them breakfast or something. Now, you can't even do that anymore. Like, it's come to a point where we have to avoid the dinner queue because... And I love doing dinner. I love doing dinner queue, sitting with the kids and, like, eating. I couldn't do it anymore because... And it's so bad because I felt like...
You can't help out.
I can't do anything about it.
Why?
It's because we... How many kids can we feed? Like, if there's 50, I can't fund the 50. And even the school, the dinner ladies, they're having to take snatch lunches out of people's hands. And it must be so heartbreaking for them. To watch it's hard, but to do it's harder.
Seriously.
So, yeah.
Things in the world are bad, and you are seeing both sides of it all the time. But how about now? I suppose this has brought you fame. It's brought you a bit more money than probably a teacher's salary. And people are going, look at your man. Can he slag us anymore? He's one of them.
He's no Pavo anymore.
He's no Pavo anymore.
I know, I get that all the time. But the thing is, my comment section's always filled. Oh, that's not very Pavo. But the thing is, I don't think it changes who you are fundamentally. I still grew up in a working class background. All my friends are still there. And I do all of this, go straight back to Blackburn, straight back to teaching. So it doesn't change you, and it shouldn't change you. The day I start doing floral ice and, you know, eating 470 then I'd say come for me.
Might not be long.
It mightn't be long. How did your pupils react when you went on The Weakest Link there recently and you got a question wrong about where the Nile was?
But I got the science questions right. So
I'm a chemistry
teacher. So I was like, oh, I got the science questions right.
What was it? Where is it? The Nile, or was it the Nile? What river runs through Paris?
I know it's Seine now.
And you said it was?
Yeah, the Nile.
So how did your students react to that, Shabaz?
Well, they literally like take the mic. Like every time I go past, they're like, oh, the Nile, sir. Are you going to the Nile in France? You know, like, I'm from France. I love the Nile. They made video clips of it as well. Like, there's actually video clips of me going the Nile, and then they've got like Paris, and then they've got like Egyptian music behind it.
I love it.
And they say that they don't watch your videos. They keep you grounded.
Exactly. Yeah, they 100% keep me humble.
What do they say?
They're like, I walk into the classroom, and if I say something, they're like, oh, no one watches them anyway, so whatever. And I'm like,
swear to God.
Well, they must keep you grounded, and they must give you great content as well, which always helps.
This is why it keeps me funny. Otherwise, I don't want to quit.
Well, you need to be on the ball with them too. You need to be quick wit.
Yeah, teenagers will...
I want to just touch the onesie in a little while if I can, the famous onesie. Brand new book. It's called I'm Rich, You're Poor, How to Give Social Media a Reality Check. Shabaz Ali at Shabaz says an utter joy is what you are.
So excited.
Thank you. So I just enjoy them so much. I love them. Thank you so much, Shabaz.
Thanks for having me.
Very
Pleasure.
funny. Thank you, Shabaz. Great to have you with us. Now, coming up after the break, we've got the answers to all your skincare questions.
Back with you in a minute. Skincare, whatever we've got. Hello, welcome back. She is our skin saviour when it comes to dermatology dilemmas.
Yes, and Jennifer Rock, aka the Skin Nerd, is back to answer your beauty questions. Loads of them coming in, Jennifer. So let's start with Lorraine. Could you please give me some skincare advice for my 21-year-old? He had previously been antibiotics for 3 months for acne, and it worked, and it cleared up the spots, but the spots are coming back on his face, and I'm wondering, what can he turn to now? Could you recommend a facial moisturiser? I suppose you don't want to go back to the antibiotics if you don't need to.
Yeah.
So if there's is there anything there that you'd recommend?
I would pop into your local pharmacy or to the doctor just to be sure, because he was underneath medical advice, and that's something to always respect, of course. From a home care perspective, there's an ingredient that will always come up trumps, and it's the ingredient salicylic acid. So salicylic acid is an amazing ingredient. It dissolves blackheads, it helps with excess oil, it helps with like little lumps and bumps that we get underneath the surface of the skin. I did bring a salicylic acid-based product today. I appreciate that it's pink, and I know that in this world, boys use pink and so on, but just to flag the packaging. It's a really clever launch from Sculpted by Amy. It's her Duo Cleanse, fully refillable, which I think is really clever. What's interesting is, Miriam, open up the lid there, right? This is not, I haven't seen this before, so absolute credit where credit is due. So she's 3 different cleansers. This is one of the 3, and within each of them, you can see there's 2 pumps, which means there's 2 products within each cleanser. So to speak about what I have here, I have the Cleanse and Clarify, which is the salicylic I speak of. So on one side, exactly. One side you have like a cream cleanser, which has the B3 and the B5 basically hydrating. And then the gel one, that one there, is the salicylic acid. So you can
cream and gel.
Exactly. So you can choose if you want a really hydrating cleanser, example, in the morning, and then use your salicylic at night. Or as you just have, you could take a pump out of each and kind of dilute that acid piece. And what's even more clever is that she has it recyclable, but you can refill both sides, because arguably you'll use your cream-based cleanser more than you'll use your acid. So in this situation, for someone who has had spots in the past, it's still quite turbulent. I suppose watch the passion. If you need medical attention, absolutely go for it. But something like this, your salicylic acid with your hydration cleanser, it's what I always say, you're pacifying, you're active within one. Really affordable.
And these are the refillable ones.
Exactly.
So you just slot them in, do you?
Yes, it's actually really easy to do. You twist the bottom, take out and put back in your refill.
Very clever, isn't it?
Very clever. I've generally never seen anyone do componentry or packaging like it, and the ingredients inside it are
So
effective.
it's basically like that, you just clip it on. So you clip it, you take this off and you clip it onto the side.
Yes, exactly. You twist it off the bottom. It's very easy to do. Just place it inside, put the lid back on top. So she's thought about it. She's been years in the making, particularly with the packaging. So
that is very clever
way to do it. Very clever way to do it. And Irish and affordable. And she's other ones. So you don't have to use, if you haven't got spots, for example, she has other cleansers within the range as well.
Lydia, when it comes to retinol percentages, Lydia, I hear you on this one. How do I know what percentage to use?
So retinol, first of all, it's such an active product, and as an ingredient. It really helps with lines, wrinkles, pigment, pore size. Whether you're a derm, a doctor, a facialist, a nurse, most tend to agree that SPF and retinol are probably the most game-changing ingredients you can apply to your skin. So where do you start? So that's why you'd start, I suppose, if that's kind of your reality in life and you want to help your skin have the healthiest glow. Usually I'd start with like a 0.3% and then build myself up, where ultimately you're going for a low percentage. So what I have here in front of us today is a 0.6% and a 1%. Now the reality is that retinol can irritate the skin. Like, you have to put SPF on with it, but it's so challenging to the skin that it does cause massive changes in a positive sense towards the skin. However, because it can sensitize and be a little bit irritating at the start, starting on twice a week, week 1, 3 times, week 2, so you incrementally build it up. This one here is the ingredients, is the 0.3 and the 1%, or the 0.6 and the 1%. It has vitamin B3 in there as well, and it has lots of hydrating ingredients. And why
so would you always say to people, start with 0 point something rather than going straight in at 1?
Exactly.
Just to even try your skin out.
Absolutely. And use it at night time only. And usually you would cleanse your face, put your regular serums on, then put this product on. So it's just a nice, gentle acclimatization to the skin. And after a couple of weeks, that's okay. After a couple of weeks, when you graduate and your skin's gotten used to it, then I cleanse my skin and put it straight onto the skin. But everything with retinol is about trying to get used to it over a period of time. Why this one is particularly good, in my opinion, is that it has all the hydrating ingredients in it. It really helps the barrier of the skin. So the getting used to it is quite important. There was 40 panelists that trialled this, and the emotional benefit in their skin was remarkable, but they didn't have that sensitivity that most people would associate with such an active product.
You see, my thing would be, what I would think, and maybe some people would think, if you put your moisturiser and stuff on, it's not really getting into it, it's not getting down to the layers that you need it to.
Great question. I'd put it on after serums that are nice and lightweight. I wouldn't be pushing on after a really thick moisturiser unless my skin is quite sensitive. But again, back to the reason of start low, start steady, and then start to incrementally build up. And take photographs. Honestly, the difference in everything I mentioned, the lines, the wrinkles, the size, the pores, the pigment, that emotionally empowers you to feel the best version of yourself.
I saw a derm talking about retinol the other day, and they were either saying you don't put it on underneath, below your lips.
So so there's retinol is becoming such a popular ingredient. There's a lot of information out there. When it's from the neck down, so usually people say, that if you think about it, you asked me this earlier, this area of the face is a lot thinner skinned, as is the eye. So back to how you said how not to put a moisturiser on first. I often recommend someone that's quite sensitive or just isn't sure and hasn't used a retinol before. With this, I tell them to put a moisturiser on underneath their eye area and on their neck area, and then put their retinol on top, for the very reason that it won't get in as fast, because that moisturiser acts almost like a barrier, but it allows you to get used to it. So there's lots of ways and lots of information out there. Just start slow. Is the main piece of information, and it's definitely worth it.
It is.
It really is.
It's not life-changing, but you know what I mean. Laura says, I keep hearing about glycerin as an ingredient in beauty products. What does it do, and how do I know if I need it?
So glycerin is really getting its moment in the sun. So example, this is one that has...
It's the third most used ingredient in cosmetics, I was just reading.
But it has been for decades and decades. So if you feel this is, for example, is the Environ Focus Care Moisturiser. It's called their Super Moisturiser, which I think is an apt name for it. It's packed full of humectants. Now, you hear me say the word humectants before. Humectant is essentially something that draws moisture to the skin. So it's not just a hydrator, it draws moisture to the skin.
Oh God,
that's lovely.
I know. So this is the glycerine that's within there. It also has squalene, it has shea butter, lanolin, jojoba, vitamin A,
like half a pump. That is a tiny bit.
This is the perfect example of something that would work really well alongside a retinol, or someone who has quite a lot of sensitivity, irritation, eczema, psoriasis, prone skin. But coming into this time of year, people don't know what
would you put that
use.
on before you put your retinol on?
You could do, while you're getting used to it, and then afterwards you put it on over it. Exactly. But the reality with this is the glycerine it just gives a beautiful slip, it gives a hydration, it gives a sheen to the skin. It's not a mattifying moisturiser, as you can see on your hand there. Like, there's a beautiful iridescence, and it's really hydrated, and it soaks in quite quickly, although it is very nourishing. Yeah, a beautiful product.
Gorgeous.
And they have new ingredients within this one. This is a reformulated one with a lot of patented technology that really just means it is, as the name says, a super moisturiser.
You love your technology, don't
I love
you?
my technology.
No, but when it's like when it has been researched properly.
That means everything, absolutely.
Anne, good morning, guys. Question for Jennifer. I'm in my 60s and have developed psoriasis over the last year. Oh, God, Anne. Patches on my body and now on my forehead and the side of my face. I have tried all the creams, but nothing's really hitting it. Any advice would be really appreciated. I've never had this before, and I don't know what triggered it.
Getting it.
I really don't think Anne's alone.
No, I really don't
psoriasis
think she is.
triggering as you
So,
get
psoriasis is autoimmune. It's also a condition that deserves to be treated by a dermatologist or a doctor. So it is medical. So in this scenario, Anne, I would encourage you to go to your doctor and speak to them about it, because it's usually a sign of something else inside, or many other elements. So that's the one thing I do want to say with psoriasis. However, psoriasis, as we know, it does present as scaly and white and patch-like, but a lot of people suffer with dryness, sensitivity, irritation, or you rub your hand on your arm or your leg and it's so dry. So for that kind of irritated skin that isn't within a medical remit, I'm always a believer. Alan, you always tease me first, but I promise you faithfully, inside out, it's the way to go. Like, it genuinely is. Now, I do personally take these every day. Why? I suppose because they're so affordable. So it's $10.95 a day, 60 capsules inside. Now, you do have to psych yourself up to swallow it, because it's not the smallest of capsules.
And we're going to be talking about microplastics in a few minutes.
Very true. This has none of them in it, though. That's the good news. So, look, the reality is when you're looking at getting your mackerel, your salmon, and all the good fish into your diet, it's ideal, but it's not always possible to get as much as you need. So anti-inflammatory, hydrating supplements inside. And it's great for the joints as well. So for anyone going to the gym, it's something like I am trying to at the moment.
Yeah. Now, Mary in Tullamore says, morning, Jennifer. Is there an affordable day-night cream that you'd recommend for a 40-year-old, please? Is it different? Does your skin change as you get older?
Yeah,
so you, like, if you're 40 or you're 50 or you're 60, it's different. Would that work for a 50-year-old?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So 40 is typically coming towards that perimenopause or menopausal stage. If we just talk about statistics from a skin sensitivity perspective, the barrier, meaning how the hydration levels feel, pigmentation is more of a reality. Within the first 5 years of menopause, 30% of your collagen is depleted. Like, that's a large amount in a short space of time. But ultimately, it's the estrogen levels that change that affects the dryness. So for this particular question, although not specifically for perimenopause, the age would lend itself to it. It's a beautiful lightweight moisturiser. It's so affordable, like so affordable. There's triceramides in there. You know I love a ceramide.
It's called Bioma.
So yeah, it's Bioma. It's the moisturising gel cream. This is taking over TikTok. This is the brand that, I mean, Boots are delighted to have it. It's quite a hard brand to get. $15.99, quite a large amount. When you put it on, right, you'll feel it yourself now. It feels like a gel, but it goes on like a cream. Like it kind of blends
goes on like
into
a cream,
the skin.
but it is a gel.
Yeah, so it's really long lasting. In terms of hydration, it definitely fits the affordability piece, and definitely for a 40-year-old skin where you might find the dryness becoming more of a reality in coming years.
And to make things last longer, have your face a little bit damp. So you can use a smaller little bit and it will go over your skin, and they can last, like, all my stuff lasts a year to 18 months, like, without a shadow of a doubt.
A cream like that would last a year?
100%.
No.
Yes.
Small amount.
I go
You're spending so much money on that stuff, 50 quid. It has to last you a year, 100%. Anyway.
Jennifer, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much. Loads of questions came in. We'll save them for the next time you're in.
Please do.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, coming up next, our environmental expert shows us how best to avoid microplastics.
Yes, stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly.
Microplastics, well, they are everywhere, from the ocean, our food, even clouds, even our bodies.
Chipper, it's a good mood, isn't it? Joining us now to discuss what microplastics are as well as their effects is sustainability expert Pat Kane. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning.
It is lovely to have you here. What are microplastics?
So microplastics are tiny fragments of plastic that come from materials breaking down, so big plastic bottles, containers, shell, fish nets and all, but also from things that we use on a daily basis. Think of synthetic fabrics like your polyester, your nylon. I have a few examples I'm going to show you. Think of car tires. So these are the two biggest culprits on a day-to-day basis. So as that thing hits on the ground, you know, the tire keeps going, it's releasing little bits and bits of plastic forever.
And disperses into the air.
It can. It can. So we are breathing in, we're ingesting it. It is everywhere, unfortunately.
Why would it be a cause for concern?
Well, it is a cause for concern because we certainly don't know exactly what the exact effects of those things in our bodies are. So we know that, for instance, in Italy, they came out with a study where they looked at 250 people, more or less. These guys had a pre-existing heart condition that were being treated for, and 60% of those were found with plastics in their arteries.
Wow.
And some doctors will even say that these could be like very worrying because fat can get stuck to that and then block the arteries and all of that. And for those that got treated and all of that, so are fine now, they are 4 times more likely to have that back again. They were mostly male, young smokers. So there are some correlations that are important, but please note, none of these is like confirmed stamped.
Yeah,
we like to say that the suspect was found on the crime scene, but there's not enough evidence for an indictment.
But if they're coming off tyres and coming off our clothes, it could be in anybody's.
It could.
It's in the air
it
everywhere.
Could. Yeah, it could.
And in terms of that, like, so there's no science behind exactly the damage that it's doing, but like if you just look at some of the products here and the amount of people who are walking about with disposable coffee cups or bottles of water. I mean, if you think about a plastic bottle of water that's been there for months, so there's going to be lots of microplastics in, so we are ingesting an awful lot. But is that new or has that always been the case?
It's probably not new at all because plastic, it has been around for so long. So from a point of, like, I am all about individual impact and trying our best and collectively creating that, positive impact. So from our side, all we can do is try and really avoid bringing plastic into our lives. So you can shop plastic free, try and buy stuff that comes loose. You can replace, I suppose, a few items that we'll talk about, from plastic to glass, or, you can avoid heating your food in plastic containers in microwaves and stuff like that.
Okay, so because the tests, as you mentioned, the science is just coming through now. It's been found in our blood for the first time. They're noticing it in our arteries and everything like that. So let's actually talk. Let's look at what's happening, where we're actually finding these things, because we're finding them in our diet, we're finding it in our stuff. So we all have these plastic containers.
Yeah, so we have plastic containers everywhere. You either buy them in the shops, this is like a soup container, or you have like proper Tupperware.
But we think we're being good, right? Because they're reusable. And we bring in our lunch and we're trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely. But if you notice here, I have two examples. I don't know if we can show. If you look inside the container, you will see all marked. Yeah. So over time, this thing. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
You see in there, you can see a bit of a scratching inside. So you will end up releasing a bit of plastic into your food, which is not ideal, of course. So
I remember even whenever we had the kids and they were newborns and you're trying to give them the purest and look after them the most, but it's all about microwave food and microwave plastics and reheating stuff in plastic containers. So you're trying to do your best for your kids, but actually don't really know what you're giving them with all these microwaves and all these plastic containers.
And that's why conversations like these are so important. We're just trying to educate ourselves on small things that can make a difference. So from these, we can go to glass, for example. And then if, like, I am like a fan of reusing stuff, right? As you can imagine. So instead of these, you can try and figure out like little jam jars and, just finding alternatives.
So again, going back to how our grandparents used to live.
Exactly, Maureen, exactly.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
Tea and coffee, that's another one that we're seeing all the time. We're being told to stop using reusable coffee cups.
Plastic ones.
Plastic ones, sorry, we'll stop using them in general. Just try.
So what, use the glass ones?
We try to use glass ones.
Yeah. Oh, well done.
Try to use glass
and that shows us why we can.
I'm very excited. We try to use glass bottles, try to replace, I suppose, plastic for glass. Always when possible. Okay. Or mugs even, right? You mentioned tea there.
Yeah, the tea bags. This is really interesting. So if you think about the amount of tea bags that go into our cups.
You should see the evils Alan is giving you right now. He's like, don't come for my tea bag.
But a lot of them have plastic, a huge amount of plastic. They're kind of in plastic pouches, where the likes of Clippers, Alliance, they've now moved to paper, fully paper tea bags.
So we have those great examples that you mentioned, and then we have less so, right? So what I always say is like, try and, rip this. And if you can't, you see, this is not paper. This is full on plastic. Can you see that?
Oh, okay.
So they're kind of like the fancy tea bags, don't they?
Shiny and everything. It's one of those pyramids, But like, try and rip this, you can't.
No, so that's putting plastic and into hot water as well. So, of course, you might be getting a lot of tea, but you're getting also a lot of plastic into your system with that too.
Now, come here to me. I can't use these anymore because my nails were destroyed. But why do you have nail varnish in here? Is this bad?
Well, if you think of glitter, right? Glitter is a really good example of a microplastic. And a lot of the nail polish out there, and not necessarily only the ones with glitter, but in general, that for that nail polish to stick to your nail, you need something there, right? And that is plastic, polymers and all of that.
Of course.
So when you add glitter to it, which is the case of these one here, for example, these two, obviously things get a bit worse because imagine if you're picking your nails on the road, you know,
is there
it's coming off.
anything else you can use? Is there what can you use alternative?
So there are brands out there trying better, and they're trying to eliminate plastics and other chemicals.
Ones here.
Yeah,
that's SE and stuff. Yeah,
these one here is I love these one. He's a range manicurist. I found these in a shop in Dublin actually called Low Street. Very, very good. You know, and these others are available in natural
rid
shops,
of the
health
glitter
shops
ones
too.
and get these good ones in.
Emma will not put up with that. Your daughter will be like, give me more glitter.
Well, exactly. But I mean, it is really important because we're seeing microplastics everywhere. We're seeing so many illnesses out there and we don't know. Maybe that could be the cause.
And they're coming off our clothes.
And they're coming off our clothes. So I brought this dress. That is a second-hand dress. You know, I thought it was gorgeous. But as you can see, it's super shiny.
Sequins.
Yeah.
Plastic.
Super shiny here.
Listen,
now we have to go. What's your Instagram?
I am Pat-Kane. You'll find more there. Yes.
Find Pat there.
Yes, try and do whatever you can to reduce your plastic. Pat-Kane, thank you so much.
Thank
Alan,
you.
what have we got tomorrow?
Well, Tommy, on tomorrow's show, we have the Gladiators winner, Marie-Louise Nicholson. She's going to be, Gladiators ready! Yeah, she's coming in tomorrow.
We're finding out exactly what a people pleaser is and how we can break those bad habits.
All that plus much, much more. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning from 7. Having a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.